Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amy Shields, and I'm the Senior Manager of Community Advancement here at ACCE, and I'd like to welcome you to this webinar today. We're going to begin momentarily and just give folks a little bit more time to join. In the meantime, I just want everyone on the line to note that your lines, if you're an attendee, are muted. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the question function at the right of your screen to ask any of those questions during the presentation. So we will just sit tight for a few minutes and we'll get started shortly. Hello and welcome to anyone who's joined us in the past few minutes. We are just waiting to allow a few more folks to have the opportunity to join, but we will get started shortly. So thank you for joining. Just as a note for those who might not have heard before, attendees are joined in listen-only mode. If you do have a question or you're having any technical difficulty, please feel free to use the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen to ask any questions or to reach out for any assistance. We will be getting started shortly. All right, in the interest of time, we are going to go ahead and get started. So welcome again, everyone. We are happy to have you here today to learn how some of your chamber peers are working in partnership with after-school networks to advance after-school STEM as a 21st century workforce development strategy. Before we begin, I just wanted to give a few housekeeping notes. If you missed it before, my name is Amy Shields. I am the Senior Manager of Community Advancement here at ACCE. We do have some time at the end of this webinar reserved for questions. As a reminder, or if you didn't hear our announcement at the beginning, attendees are joined in listen-only mode. So please use the question function in the webinar access panel if you have a question for me or for our presenters. You'll find that again on the right-hand side of your screen. Just go ahead and type any questions that you might have in there, and we will read those aloud during the Q&A portion of our webinar. If for whatever reason we don't have the chance to get to all of the questions, we will follow up with you after the webinar to try to answer your question as best we can. We do have 60 minutes set aside for our time today. We are recording this webinar, and you can check the ACCE website within the next few days for the recording. We'll also be sending out the slides and the recording to you if you were registered for the webinar. So we are here today to talk about after-school programs and the impact that they have on the workforce. And we wanted to start by focusing on after-school STEM programs. So we know that STEM skills are in demand in communities across the country, and we know that STEM jobs are growing at a faster rate than overall employment growth. And we also know that jobs in the STEM field earn more, the folks that work in those jobs tend to earn more than those with similar education levels who are employed in non-STEM jobs. So starting early with the skills students need to be successful in STEM is very important. Some of our speakers today are also going to speak to how after-school programs expose students to different types of career opportunities and skills at an early age. And the skills that students need to be successful in STEM are also broadly applicable to other industries and to the workforce writ large. So we'll hear more about that today. And before we get started, I just want to say that we are so grateful for the partnership between the Mott Foundation, STEM Next, and ACCE. It's through their generous support that we're able to offer these kinds of connections and the resources around after school and STEM. And we're really excited that you're here today and that you have the chance to hear from Carrie Pardo, who's an Associate Program Officer at the Mott Foundation, and Ron Ottinger, the Director of the STEM Next Opportunity Fund. We are also thrilled to be joined by one of our after-school state leads, Linda Barton, who's the director of the Wyoming After-School Alliance, and she's going to share more about the importance of after-school in preparing the workforce of the future. And then we'll hear from Erin Helms, who's the executive director of the Casper Chamber of Commerce, and Elisa Ruckel, who's the owner of Elevate Wyoming, and they're going to talk about how after-school has impacted the students and workforce in their community. So today we only have the chance to hear from one of our fantastic chamber and state lead duos, but we just wanted to be transparent that we understand that no two chambers and state lead partnerships look the same, and there are many opportunities for chambers to partner with state leads, and all chambers can participate in this work no matter how large or small. So we really encourage you to take what you hear today and figure out the right approach for your chamber and your region. And if you need more ideas about what that might look like, you can visit our After School STEM Chamberpedia page, which we'll provide the link to at the end of this webinar. So we have a lot of great work to cover today, and so with that, I will hand it over to Ron.
Thank you so much, Amy. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us and your colleagues this afternoon. You're going to hear from some highly experienced Chamber and Mott State After School Network leaders who are bringing best practices to utilizing after-school STEM learning in helping prepare and inspire tomorrow's workforce. This is a critical moment for this conversation. An increasing number of employers, as you all know on the Chamber side, are looking to out-of-school time to provide foundational skills for future employees. Or as we like to say, the after-school and workforce development train has left the station and it's time to get on. Let me start with some introductions. My name is Ron Ottinger, and for nearly a decade, I was honored to serve as the executive director of the Noyce Foundation, founded in the memory of Robert Noyce, the co-founder of Intel. Now as executive director of STEM Next Opportunity Fund, which is seeded with Noyce support, I and our staff and consultants are continuing the momentum of that field-building work with support for large-scale capacity-building initiatives. For those who are not familiar with STEM Next, our venture philanthropy is a national leader increasing opportunities in STEM learning for youth across communities, both in and out of school. And as Amy said, I'm pleased to be joined by my great colleague, Carrie Pardo, Associate Program Officer at the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. Our two foundations came together 8 years ago to integrate STEM learning into Mott's statewide after-school networks, which have focused on building the after-school and summer fields to offer high-quality programming to millions of young kids. Carrie?
Thank you, Ron. And hello, everyone. Thank you for being on this webinar today. We're really excited to share what's been going on with this great partnership with ACCE. As Ron started to mention, the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation has been supporting and investing in high-quality after-school and summer learning programs for almost 20 years now to help our students achieve their full potential. The centerpiece of our investment in after-school has been our 50 statewide after-school networks, each of which has a network lead, one of whom you will have the wonderful opportunity to hear from in a few minutes. To clarify our language, just to help make sure that we're all on the same page during this next hour, is that when we use the term after school, we mean all out-of-school time programming that occurs before school, after school, or during the summer. So we just say after school for short, and it encompasses it all. Through our partnership with STEM Next, we've been able to leverage the core competencies of our statewide after-school networks, which are both local and statewide. And some of those pieces that we believe strongly as our core competencies include professional development for the after-school field, quality and curriculum development, policy and communications, evaluation, and local and statewide multi-sector relationship building. As a result, we see more after-school programs offering more STEM learning provided by knowledgeable and trained after-school professionals. We see young people are more engaged in STEM-related subjects and imagining and exploring what their future careers as engineers and entrepreneurs and more could be. We continue to be helping inspire and prepare the future workforce of America, which we know was so desperately needed. Because of this joint collaboration, we have grown from the initial 9 states that were focused on STEM to 33 that have been scaling best practices in after-school STEM and now reaching over 800,000 youth across the country. And you can see on the webinar, on the slide, the states that are identified in those 33. Ron, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Carrie. Like all of you on the webinar, we continue to learn every day. Through a large-scale study released in 2017 that looks at the impact of after-school STEM, we know that high-quality after-school and summer learning STEM programs are giving kids the spark that kindles curiosity and interest in STEM careers. It's where we are reaching the kids who have yet to discover their passion in science, math, engineering, or technologies, those who have been historically left out of the STEM economy. And that means young girls, low-income families, and youth of color. More recently, many of you may have heard of the research of Raj Chetty and his colleagues at Stanford and now at Harvard, who published one of the most significant research papers relevant to STEM education in the past 2 decades. Raj Chetty and his team's research identified key factors that predict the likelihood of a child entering the innovation economy. The key finding: innovation exposure matters the most, more than anything else, in whether or not a kid goes on to innovate and create, as from the Patent Bureau data. The presence of adults in a child's life who has a STEM background, who is in a STEM profession, and exposing that young person to those professions is the highest predictor of whether or not a young kid will go in and become an innovator. That's why we're here today. Chambers and chamber members understand the need for a STEM-ready workforce, and many of you are working with after-school programs already in organizations to strengthen and diversify our future talent pool. Here are two examples. In addition to the colleagues from Wyoming that we'll hear from today, a couple of examples of many. Greater Spokane Incorporated in the state of Washington serves as the backbone organization for the regional Spokane STEM network and also facilitates an after-school program known as Business After School. Through the Business After School program, students participate in interactive industry skill workshops hosted by local businesses in Spokane. These workshops offer students hands-on experiences while introducing them to potential career paths in their community. Then to the south, in South Carolina, the South Carolina Chamber works in partnership with the South Carolina After-School Alliance, one of Mott's 50 state after-school networks. Together, they're working to close the state's skills gap by promoting quality after-school programs for students in the state's public school system. The two entities help one another by increasing visibility and credibility among their respective audiences. They have also partners on key pieces of after-school related legislation. Through their partnership, the Chamber administers Chamber Homework Centers where students can go after school for personalized academic support. We're now in our second year of partnership with ACCE, with STEM Next and the Mott Foundation. We're lifting up together these best practices and making connections between chambers and the work that is happening across the country through our statewide after-school networks. Carrie?
Thank you, Ron. To help you consider how after school can support your workforce development efforts, today we have representatives from the Casper Area Chamber of Commerce and Elevate Wyoming, along with their after-school partner, who will share how they are leveraging after school to meet local workforce development needs. We are now going to transition into the substance and meat of our presentation to hear from your local peers. And to help start with that, I would like to have Linda Barton, who's the director of the Wyoming After School Alliance, the Mott statewide after school network in their state, to talk about the STEM after school and workforce landscape there and how they have been working towards that and helping to achieve the goals of the state. So Linda, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Carrie, and thank you, Ron, and also thank you, ACCE, for allowing us to share the work that we're doing in Wyoming. Hold on one minute, I get rid of that. First of all, I'd like to set some context for the after-school hours so that you can actually see how we can optimize time for students K through 12, both in school and out of school. And you can see here that children spend about 18% of their time during school hours, and the balance of that time is after school. So next slide, please. So we're saying that after school works for Wyoming. Through after school, young people improve their STEM and computational readiness, entrepreneurial readiness, educational attainment, readiness to lead that includes aspiring and imaginative, agile, fail fast, try again, persistent, and future. Another slide, please. So here's how it breaks down in Wyoming. Today's future workforce in Wyoming includes pre-kindergarten students, elementary and middle school and high school students. And as you can see the breakdown, our current Wyoming economy, 2019 to 22, there's about 27,000 high school students. And in the emerging Wyoming economy that goes through 23 to 2030, there's another 66,000 K through 8 students. And then in what we're calling the reinvented Wyoming economy, which goes to 2013 plus, we're looking at 38,000 pre-K children. So jointly speaking, that is an awful lot of students that we feel that we can reach through our after-school hours. I think that is it. So I'd like to start discussing in a little bit more detail what the Wyoming After School Alliance has always believed, that it is the perfect environment for expanding learning opportunities for youth to explore careers and learn the critical skills necessary to be successful in a changing economy, with STEM being the constant, interconnected to all disciplines and in every workplace. This can be through college, credentials, certifications, and work experience. We must stretch our minds to include all kinds of learning to fill positions in a myriad of sectors with the necessary skills. STEM skills are essential, no matter what careers youth choose, as they represent a new mindset, which includes entrepreneurship, leadership, and career technical education as an integral component threaded within and between all content areas. These skills, which businesses are searching for, such as critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, communications, resiliency, and reliability, are developed through STEM learning. Basically, how to try, how to fail, and to try again, and keep trying until reaching a successful outcome. Because of our Endow initiative, which is actually called Economically Needed Diversity Options for Wyoming, which was started in 2016 by former Governor Matt Mead, which I will also tell you is an ongoing effort to prepare our youth for careers in STEM, the Wyoming After School Alliance began to align our efforts to work with middle and high school youth in preparation for jobs for the future right here in the state through a highly strategic plan. And keep in mind that for Wyoming, we are consistently losing our high school and college grads to our neighboring states in a range of job opportunities. To develop a stronger relationship with business, we joined the Greater Cheyenne and Greater Casper Area Chambers of Commerce in order to meet local businesses in key areas that are important to the state and engage them in conversations around youth career exploration, utilizing the after-school space in what we like to call a neutral zone, and as a facilitator between business and education. Our work with the local chambers has been very fruitful for many reasons, not the least of which is that chambers are creative, proactive, and innovative. You work with many types of businesses in small and large communities, making the most out of local resources. Afterschool is a very important partner in efforts to achieve growth in all sectors of business, in good times and in bad. Afterschool can help by offering a wide range of learning opportunities for young people by connecting activities that support growth in a healthy community and customized training to local industries that exist in different regions. Working with business leaders as partners, after-school programs can focus on job shadowing, mentorships, meet with business leaders on the ground at their work sites, and bring in key curricula that will strengthen different sectors and provide opportunities for youth to test their skills and interest through exploration in a low-stake environment. After-school programs can bridge the gap between the workforce and education to offer real-world, hands-on learning. Our work and our partnership with the Casper Area Chamber of Commerce is doing just that. We have developed a very strong working group of area leaders in economic and workforce development, sector associations to try and meet the needs of Natrona County as the current workforce is retiring and Wyoming is losing population. Currently, our state is about 550,000. We are also a frontier state. So it makes challenges to not have a diversification of industry choices for our young people. We began our discussions in the fall of 2018 when we received funding from the Mott Foundation to focus on entrepreneurship, workforce readiness, and preparedness in STEM skills. We began by building on what they already had in place. Their youth leadership camp offered each summer to kids going into high school from middle school. We developed in partnership with the Chamber a phase 2 of this work, which will start in the fall with junior achievement and virtual job shadow. Through a continuation of this working group, we plan on creating an asset map that will feature existing programs to see where the gaps are to ensure that we reach all youth in a variety of ways. And that asset map will be completely focused on the Casper area and Natrona County at large. Bottom line, we are on the brink of creating a new partnership model. Chambers of Commerce, the after-school networks, and the business community to ensure that a youth of today are trained and skilled to become the new workforce, ready to compete in our developing 21st century, whatever that looks like. If we don't, we will be late to the game. We need to support a new generation of leaders that can provide for their families, support their local economies, and be able to pivot and be ready when needed to whatever comes their way to be successful. Thank you. And turn it over to Erin and Elisa.
Well, good morning. This is Erin with the Chamber, and welcome to everyone that's here. And my good friend and colleague Elisa is on the other line. Elisa, where are you?
Hello, I'm right here.
So we're sitting blocks apart, I'm sure. Well, we wanted to talk to all of you today about what we've been doing here at the Chamber and with Elevate Wyoming for our youth, as well as what's coming, and then how we're kind of collaborating with some other organizations here in town. And so I'm going to let Elisa kind of kick off what we've been doing. She has a little more time under this than I do. I've actually only been the executive director here for about 3.5 months. And so I have jumped in full on, but she's got more experience on what they've been doing. And then we can talk about together what's coming. So Miss Elisa.
Hey, thank you, Erin. And thank you guys for including us in this webinar and for taking the time to join this morning. So a few years ago, actually I started partnering with our Chamber of Commerce. I should take a step back. So as the owner of Elevate Wyoming, just represent the business community in Casper and have worked with a lot of our businesses locally on the professional development side of things. And one of the things we were hearing from our business community is the lack of skill, whether it's interpersonal communication, leadership skills, from our high school kiddos, junior high school kiddos going into the workforce. So started thinking about how might we better prepare them with those skills as they enter our workforce. And to Linda's point earlier, how do we engage them more in our community so they have more of a vested interest in their community? So put together a junior leadership program about 4 years ago, I think, because I had partnered with the Chamber on the leadership Casper for our business professionals in developing curriculum on that side. So Chamber reached out and said, hey, what would you think about creating a junior leadership Casper? So we started that program 4 years ago and initially started with 8th and 9th graders going into the workforce, and about 3 years probably had about 60 kiddos, and started to realize that while that's a great age to get them, they're not really thinking about their entering the workforce yet. So Erin and I have talked and met with some folks and are actually shifting that to 10th graders. So we'll be looking at 10th, 11th, and 12th graders as we move forward. and have figured out that those gaps from kindergarten through junior high to high school, we actually have some other partner agencies in the city that are helping to bridge those gaps. We can create one continuous flow from kindergarten through into college. And I don't know if, Erin, you want to talk about some of those partnerships or the programs we have coming on tap? Or
Sure. As Elisa was just talking about with the going all the way from kindergarten through college, we have in Casper some amazing groups that are so encouraged and involved in every age of development, and we are now all coming together to really make a pipeline and streamline it so that we start young. We get these kids excited about what it is going to be when they grow up, as they get into junior high, giving them some of those tools of you don't go to a job interview in your pajamas. You make sure you comb your hair and brush your teeth. You have some manners about you, and you have some knowledge of basic skills, math, English speaking, not twitching and looking down, and just really making sure that when you're having these interviews and these jobs that you are presenting yourself as a professional. It doesn't matter if you're 14 or 15 years old, you can still carry yourself as a young adult, as a respectable young adult. So we are working with the Casper Area Economic and Development Alliance. They are fantastic in their marketing for their manufacturing and industry. Big businesses coming into Casper, they get a hold of that group of people, and then now they're focusing on doing some of these trainings for kids. And theirs is 7th, 8th, and 9th grades, correct, Elisa? Is it 7th, 8th, and 9th?
Yes.
That they're doing?
Yep.
Okay. So they're focusing on the industry and manufacturing and things of that nature, not necessarily. We know that every kid is going to go into college. We know that there's a pretty big group of kids here in Casper and in Wyoming as a whole that are going to lean more towards trades. We're working really hard with the workforce development as well, that just because you're in a trade doesn't mean you're less than if you graduated from college. Not every kid is meant to be in school in a college level, but these trades still require the math, the English, the skills, all of STEM going forward. So we're really working to make sure that these kids understand that. And then we have this whole different category of kids that are in this entrepreneurial. They are so motivated to be their own boss and have these fantastic ideas of developing businesses. And so that is where our Be Entrepreneurial program is coming forward, again, working and collaborating with some of the other organizations in our area. And I'm going to let Elisa talk a little bit about the Be Entrepreneurial and what that's going to look like for us starting this fall.
Yes. So as Erin mentioned, our junior leadership, Casper, will be shifting to 10th graders. And so that's where we're focused on the interpersonal communication skills, building relationships, the leadership skills, and adding in part of the virtual job shadowing component, just helping them kind of get their brains wrapped around where they want to be and what they want to do and what some of those basic soft skills are. And then the juniors and seniors will then offer a Be Entrepreneurial. So it's a junior achievement curriculum, and we've actually partnered with a organization here in Casper that is an innovation. It's the Wyoming Technology Business Center, and they have a program called Breakthrough 307 where they actually jumpstart new businesses. And so they help them build a business plan, do market analysis, all of those things. And from that, every year, there are winners of the Breakthrough 307 competition that then are provided seed money to actually launch their business. So we have actually partnered with them as well, so that our 11th and 12th graders, as they enter the Be Entrepreneurial program, they will have access to recent startups and entrepreneurs within our community that will serve as mentors during that 6 or 7 weeks of curriculum to help them figure out the market analysis, the business plan, the financing, legally what needs to happen. So we'll connect them with all of those mentors. And then at the end of the program, our plan is to have kind of a local Shark Tank. So existing business owners and entrepreneurs will serve on a panel that will then evaluate all the business plans presented by the kiddos. And 3 of our top 3 finalists will receive scholarships to go down to Business Week, which is a camp in Denver, Colorado. And then the top finalists will actually have an opportunity to work with Breakthrough 307 and receive some seed money so they can actually launch their program here, or their business here in Casper. So it's, I mean, one of the things that the Chamber is just exceptional is building those partnerships and those collaborations. So between the Chamber and CADA and Elevate and the Wyoming Technology Business Center, bringing all of those pieces together to help these kiddos, you know, figure out what could they, how do they, you know, what can they bring and what do they want to see and what would they like to see in their community and the businesses that they would like to have access to. And some of the kiddos that we've been talking to, I mean, they're talking about indoor skate parks and drive-in movie theaters and, I mean, just phenomenal ideas. And so we'll help them figure out how to do everything from analysis to business plan to financing to actually launching a business. So our goal is to have both of those, the Junior Leadership Casper and then the Be Entrepreneurial, will start to roll in September. We'll actually launch them both, and then October, November is when the programs will actually run here in Casper. Did I miss anything, Erin?
No, I think that pretty much nailed the Be Entrepreneurial part of it in our junior leadership. We've had the success of the junior leadership program, and with that, we know that even though we haven't done this Be Entrepreneurial yet, we have enough support in the community with other organizations. Linda and her team have been just absolutely phenomenal as well. So we know that this will be a success because we have the interest of the kids wanting to just do something different. One of the things that I love about Wyoming, and I've only lived in Wyoming for 5 years, one of the things that I absolutely love about this community is that the community gets behind a really great, cool project, and they will support that all day long. So we are really, really excited for that. We've been chatting up some of the teachers and some of the counselors, some of the city officials, and they are all very, very excited to see this project launch and just see where it goes from there. We are sure that even this first year we'll have a really great turnout and it will just continue to grow from there. So having the support of our community, our city officials, our teachers, all of that really helps. We also do have Casper College and an extension of University of Wyoming here in Casper. They're even on board. They're looking to see what these kids are going to do and how they can support that. So we have the support from just everybody in all angles, which is really, really exciting for us. So I think
do we
that's
have
probably.
Go ahead.
What's that? No, I was.
I was going to ask if we actually had the flyer that was created for Be Entrepreneurial, if that was included in the slide deck.
No, I don't think Emily could get that to load, right, Emily?
Okay.
That's correct. We will include that afterwards so that everyone can have access to that flyer as an example.
Cool.
Great. And I think that's all that we need to cover. If you all have questions, we're happy to answer those. But
this is Linda. I would just like to add that for the as we benefited from the Mott Foundation's opportunity grant that we received, and there were only 5 states that did at this time. I'm sure there'll be more. We were able to provide those necessary resources to the Casper area so that they could add to the already great work that they're doing there by being able to provide 2 different curricula through Junior Achievement and through Virtual Job Shadow, which is actually an online platform. Living in a frontier state as we do, sometimes it's very challenging to provide and young people with the opportunities to explore a variety of job options. So through the platform, the online platform, we've been able to allow them, once everyone gets started with this, the ability to not only explore different careers, but to set up a student portfolio for themselves, to look at the career pathways and see what classes they'll need or what kind of certification. Because as Erin said, we really believe that we have to recognize a significant amount of kids are not going to go to college or actually need to go to college to make high wages and be very technically savvy and be able to operate with the skills that they possess. And that will make them more happy, that will make the state happy. And so we're very excited about that platform.
Great. Well, thank you all for a great overview of what's happening in Casper and what's happening in Wyoming more broadly. This is our time for questions here. So again, if you have a question that you would like to ask one of our panelists, please feel free to use that panel on the right side of your screen to ask a question. In the meantime, I'll just get us kicked off. There are just so many different roles that chambers can play in this space, from convening to advocating, supporting, or leading. There's just a lot of opportunities to get involved here. And so, Erin, I'm curious how you make some of the decisions of your level of involvement and how you go about figuring out the role that you think the chamber should play in some of these different programs.
I really bounce a lot of ideas off of not only our board, my staff, Elisa and her team. We seem to be in constant communication, which is great. And then we have another gal that we work with, Riata Little, over at the CADA office. So it's just, I believe for us, it's a lot about just really bouncing ideas off of each other, brainstorming who can be responsible for what component of a training program. And it really does help to have not just my ideas, but everybody's ideas as a whole. We come together, and basically for us, it's about bringing these organizations together, and it's all about our kids. They are the ones that we are looking forward to making sure that they're going to be good humans when they grow up, and that they're responsible, and that they are moving in a direction that's healthy for them. So by working with all of these other organizations, and there is just a list of them. We probably have 12 different organizations in the area that we've been working with that all have some focus on kid programs. And now we're really working to bring everybody together and come up with okay, so this is what you're responsible for, this is what you're responsible for, but basically we're working on streamlining and having a line of kindergarten to college. So it's really about collaboration for us. That's what I would say. I rely on our community.
Great. And I know that you were mentioning also community engagement and garnering support from the community for these programs. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like? And Alyssa and Linda, if you'd like to weigh in on how you go about getting the community to get behind some of these programs.
Elisa, you want to start with that?
Sure. I think it's really, I'm here. I had another video pop up and is playing, and I don't know how to make it stop. That's what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. So part of, I think, what makes it easy is because the chamber works they're truly, in essence, is to help unify the business community and offer whatever services, products, connections they can to help make the business community stronger. So our chamber just works. It's incredible the amount of work they do to support our business community and just help make our community bigger and better and stronger. So reaching out to the businesses, the chamber and myself, hearing from them. You know, they tell us, here's what our workforce is, here's the state of our workforce, here's what we need, here's the direction we're going in. So it's kind of an easy, I mean, it's a no-brainer figuring out, you know, this is what our community needs, this is what our workforce needs, so how do we make that happen, and how do we fill those gaps before they're actually gaps? So then partnering with, you know, CADA and the college and the university and some of the other youth programs, building that platform, so kindergarten through, all the way through college. We're helping fill the needs of our workforce and connecting our kiddos to the workforce so they're more invested in our community. So it really is it's an easy ask, because we're just filling the gaps that the businesses say, hey, this is what we need. So it's kind of, I don't know if it's any more difficult than that. I don't know, Erin, if you have other thoughts.
No, I for me, it's about the collaboration. Really getting out there and talking and meeting with other organizations and just making sure that we're all aware of what each other's doing and on the same page, truly, and really making it about our kids and their future. I think it is that simple.
And this is Linda, and I'd just like to also stress that we recently had a business listening session where actually Erin and a couple of colleagues from Elevate Wyoming attended. And what we heard from businesses was their real concern about the youth of today and whether or not they're going to be ready to take on the future economy. And I don't mean just a small segment, but I mean everyone who graduates has some sort of a goal and some sort of purpose and skills that can be very, very important to the state. And I also want to mention medium skills. The medium skills are very, very important. What I mean by that is not necessarily those in a leadership position, but those that are working in teams and need to problem solve and be there ready to take on new ideas and participate in that learning experience, so that no matter what they choose to do in the long run, will be productive and be able to help support the economy. And I think that Afterschool is positioned to be able to assist in that. As I had mentioned earlier, there's an awful lot of time in the day when kids are not necessarily in school, and we should be using every waking hour to provide access to high quality learning experiences for our children, so that because I think in a growing economy and a changing economy, we really can't afford not to utilize as much time of the day as possible to give kids the flexibility to learn whatever they need to learn and however they can learn. So I think what is happening in Casper, they really got it. They understand it. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to promote this throughout the state and offer these kinds of opportunities based on the Casper model, what can be done in addition to that. Because we are losing kids, and we need to get them ready so they can pay my Social Security when I retire. Just kidding.
Wonderful. Thank you all. We have a question here about the entrepreneurship program, and a question about whether you had looked at any national entrepreneurship programs like the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, and if so, how does your program differ from some of those other models?
Well, if I might answer that, we actually are working with the Young Entrepreneur Institute, and we are also working with Venture Labs. Both resources have been provided by the Mott Foundation. So we have given that information to the Casper group, and we are looking to train and facilitate some teachers, and they don't have to be formal day teachers, but after-school educators as well, on how to help children prepare for a competition, a pitch competition. So we are working with some national leaders that way to expand. Be Entrepreneurial is one curricula in Junior Achievement's portfolio. And that is the one that Casper picked, but there are many other choices. And I think this is a good first step for them since they are really prepped and ready to go for that age group. I hope that answered your question.
Erin or Lisa, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Lisa, do you have anything?
I was just going to say, we didn't really explore other options or curriculum. I know there's a lot of other business. I mean, we have DECA and what is it? FMLA, FLA, whatever it is.
FBLA,
FBLA, there you go. I knew it was one of those. So quite a few already existing, and so we didn't want to duplicate and, you know, something kind of different. And that's when Linda approached the Chamber with this idea about the entrepreneurial component of junior achievement. And as soon as we looked at that curriculum, just thought, wow, this is a perfect fit, exactly kind of the direction we wanted to go in. So didn't really explore other options because that one fits so well with the direction we were kind of moving in.
I just have a clarifying question that has come in. So the Be Entrepreneurial program is in collaboration with Junior Achievement. It's a program that's in their set of offerings. Can you just talk a little bit about the relationship between Junior Achievement and Be Entrepreneurial?
Well, as I was saying, so Junior Achievement, we're working with directly out of the Denver area, and their region works with in Colorado and in Wyoming. They have a set of curricula that starts in pre-kindergarten and goes through 12th grade. So they've got many choices. What we did as an organization was mainly looking at middle and high school kids, because those were the ones that we were trying to attract. When I showed the curricula to Erin and Elisa and the group in general, they picked Be Entrepreneurial out of that group. But there are many more, and they really comprise of about 7 lessons, 1-hour lessons. So you can pick many choices. You don't have to just pick that one. But as they were saying, as Elisa was saying, that fit the direction that they were going to at the time. Not necessarily saying that the other ones they might experiment with later down the line. So it was a choice out of many choices.
Wonderful, thank you for clarifying that. We've just had a question come in around whether you have gotten any concerns from business about the need for any additional insurance protection for students if they're on site at that business, particularly when students are not yet 16 or not yet 18. This particular question references some employers in that community that are reluctant to allow student interns or job shadowers on their premises because of those insurance or safety risks. Is that something that you all have faced in your programming?
So this is Erin, and I can speak to that a little bit. We actually, through part of our own insurance that we carry here at the Chamber, we actually have a rider that was added to our program that has anything to do with kids as far as like sexual abuse or harassment or anything of that nature when the training is happening and they're on site at a different location at a business. As far as having a business having to carry additional insurance for somebody under 16, and once they're 16, they can legally work, and they obviously that business does carry insurance for that. So under the age of 16, we haven't come across anything of that yet. However, we do have that rider here as part of our own insurance policy that kind of covers some of those other things that we don't like to talk about, but we have to.
There is one industry, our oil and gas industry, which is very prominent in the state. Of course, kids under 18 cannot go out onto a site. That's just law. They just cannot work on a drilling site or go even visit. I think they can visit one if they're not close to where the drilling is happening. I'm not quite clear about that, but I do know that they can't really go out and job shadow on the site. Is that right, ladies?
Yeah, and part of what
that is correct.
Yeah, and part of what we're looking at with the 10th graders, with our junior leadership, Casper, the job shadowing is part of it. It's a virtual program, virtual platform. So it isn't actually physically on site. It's just helping them map out what some of those opportunities might be, and so what would be the education experience that would be required for that. So it's an online platform. As we start to look at maybe adding some visits, it would be more of the visiting. So not actually job shadowing. That would be for our older kiddos, maybe the juniors and seniors. But I think even at a 10th grade level, most of them are going to be 15, 16. So.
Right.
Great. So for folks that are maybe still thinking about a question, we have time for maybe one or two more questions. So while you're thinking about those and typing those up, I just want to confirm that the criteria for eligibility for your junior leadership program, that's available on your website, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
Great. And so then the follow-on to that question is, how do you communicate that program to students? How do you let students know about the programming that you offer?
So with this with the Be Entrepreneurial and with the junior leadership, we have the flyers available. We will be attending back to school nights. We will be working with counselors in the schools, in the high schools here, and the continuation schools, as well as collaborating with groups such as 4-H, FFA, Boys and Girls Club, Scouts, and through our website as well. But we will be getting out and physically handing out flyers, attending events that our high schoolers are going to be at. We had just a great conference over the spring called Lift, and that's again another opportunity for us to get in front of the kids. So working with the schools, the school district, and different organizations here in town.
I'd like to step back for a moment and just in further reflection on entrepreneurship, I would just like to mention to the audience that really when you think of entrepreneurship, it's really about a mindset. So it's not necessarily that every kid that goes into or is part of the Be Entrepreneurial curricula, it's really one's mind on how they think about creativity and skill building. You don't have to actually, not every kid is going to start their own business, but it prepares you in so many different ways with the skills that you need in any setting. So if you think about entrepreneurship more of a mindset, I think that might help in adjusting one's thinking about starting their own business. You can, and of course, it's very important in our state because we do want to encourage diversity, but it also doesn't mean that you have to. It's good if you are an employee as well as a business owner.
Great, thank you for that follow-up, Linda. I have one last quick question before I lead into the wrap-up here. Someone was asking about the actual platform that you use for the virtual job shadow. Is that something that you all created on your own, or are you using a different platform to facilitate that?
We're using a platform that already exists, and it's actually called virtualjobshadow.com. And you purchase what they call student seats. So, and it's very, very reasonably priced. And we, as an after-school network, purchased a number of seats and then are providing those seats, if you will, to Casper and to other organizations, other after-school programs that we're working with too around the state. And it is a subscription. It's an annual subscription. But if you're interested in taking a look at it, I think you'll find it very useful to get kids started. They have something like 400 different jobs, 3 to 4 minute videos that you can take a look at. And there is some training that goes into it because it's a very comprehensive platform, but I would encourage you to take a look at it and talk to right now we're offering training to our users, to our teachers who will then be facilitating the learning to the kids.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Linda. So unfortunately, we are at the end of our time here. I just have a few things that I'd like to cover before we wrap up here. So as part of ACCE's work in this area, we've been working to develop a number of resources for our members who are or who would like to be engaged in after-school STEM. And we have developed, in partnership with Mott Foundation and STEM Next, this business education partnership model, which you can see on the screen here. And this just gives you some ideas of the different activities that can help you evolve your partnerships to be more committed and more visible in after school. So if you have any questions about this model or how to use it, please feel free to reach out to us. I also wanted to mention our Chamberpedia page on After School STEM. On this page, you'll find several ACCE resources, some other Chamber best practices, links to research reports, and we are continuing to update this page. Particularly, I want to point you to the Chamber case for After School STEM and also the one-pager with more information on the Mott statewide after school networks. Both of those are linked from our Chamberpedia page. We encourage you to take advantage of these resources, to join the Education and Talent Development Division to receive the newsletter if you don't already receive that, and just to stay in touch as you continue to move the needle on education and workforce development in your communities. If there was a question that you had that we didn't get to today, please feel free to follow up with Emily Counts. Her information is listed here on the screen. We will do our best to answer that question for you. And if you have any other questions about ACCE's education and talent development work more broadly, please feel free to reach out to any member of our team. Before we finish today, I'd just like to give such a heartfelt thanks to our presenters here. We could not do this work without them, and we so appreciate their time here today. And so finally, we will just email you these slides and a recording within the next week, and you will also find today's webinar posted on ACCE's website. So with that, thank you all for attending and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.